Okay, we're live. Hey, folks, Chuck Holton here. How's it going? I'm coming to you from my studio in Panama. And as always, there's a lot going on over in Israel. So we're going to talk about that tonight. As a matter of fact, there's some confusion, at least in my mind, about what's actually happening in Lebanon, because it almost sounds like Israel is saying that they've achieved victory up there. I don't quite think that's correct, but so let me just explain. Let me explain. The IDF came out yesterday, yesterday late, and said that they believe that they have accomplished enough of their military objectives in Lebanon that they can start to negotiate for a ceasefire. And now they have been really taking it to Hezbollah, as you know. Hezbollah has, in the last several weeks, lost all of its commanders, a whole lot, over 1,000 of its fighters, and probably thousands more have decided that discretion was the better part of valor and decided to just sort of mosey on down the road and maybe not, have to fight Israel quite so much. Maybe they're just not quite as excited about fighting Israel after they've seen what's happened in Gaza and after they saw what happened with all the pagers that went off and everything like that. So now they just named a new leader for Hezbollah. His name is Naim Kassem. And Naim Kassem is not a super excited guy, as you can imagine. Naim Kassem, his last speech before today, he was shown dabbing his forehead. He was sweating very profusely, probably waiting for a JDAM to come through the window. And he's not a real charismatic character to begin with, but you can imagine that the threat of instant immolation from above might make you just a little less excited about doing your job, and the better job you do at your job, the more likely it is that you will spontaneously combust. So he is kind of keeping a low profile so far for the last few days. It's funny because the defense minister in Israel tweeted out a photo of him congratulating him ostensibly on his new position, but saying, not for long, meaning Israel's gunning for you. So he gave a speech today from an undisclosed location, obviously, and the majority of his speech was devoted to answering claims about directed at Hezbollah for its conduct, because there are a lot of people in Lebanon who you can imagine are saying Hezbollah kind of needs to go. There's a lot of our country that's being decimated right now because of Hezbollah's grand plans. And we'd rather not have that kind of conflict. We got enough problems domestically, and they do. Lebanon is in shambles. Their economy's in shambles. Their country's in shambles. Their politics are in shambles. And so this is not a good time for Hezbollah to be picking a fight with Israel. So a lot of the speech that Naim Kassem gave was just to talk to the people of Lebanon about what's going on. He was very apologetic in the speech. He wasn't a fiery, angry guy like Hassan Nasrallah, but he certainly pledged fealty to his bosses, and I'm talking about the Iranian government. He tried to say that they were winning. He tried to make the case that Hezbollah is winning. Now, that's a pretty tough case to make, as you can imagine, considering that Hezbollah has fired about 13,000, well, more than that, more than 14,000 rockets at Israel, and drones and things like that. As a matter of fact, I have some footage of one of those drones I wanted to show you real quick. Check this out. Let's see if this is the right one. No, that's not it. There it is.
Yeah,
This is a drone from Hezbollah. Is inside Israel. Now, that drone was taken out by a attack helicopter. This is what Israel is doing now. They're taking these helicopters and they can chase the drone down and shoot it down out of the sky with less risk than trying to hit those things with the Iron Dome system, because you can see it's almost at treetop level right there. The Iron Dome is almost as tall as treetop level in the launcher. So it's almost impossible for the Iron Dome to shoot those things down. I've seen a couple of times where they've done it, but it goes like the Iron Dome fires up in the air and then comes like this and then comes straight down and tries to hit that thing from above. But you can imagine if that was over your house, it would probably cause some serious damage over to your house. So, and plus, it's $50,000. Now, it's probably not much less than that to have a helicopter shoot down your drone, but it is safer. And so that's what they've been doing. We've seen several instances of that. But anyway, Naim Kassem was trying to prove that Hezbollah is strong. They're defeating the enemy. They're winning, and they just have to wait a little longer. You know, just keep up the faith a little bit longer, guys, and we'll win. Israel will crumble, and this whole thing will be over. Well, that's obviously and demonstrably untrue in Lebanon and in Israel, both. So he's not fooling anybody, right? He's not fooling anybody at all. He said that the most interesting thing is what he didn't say. He did not say anything about a ceasefire directly, but the way that he said what he said left a lot of room for a ceasefire. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the channels on Telegram and places like that are saying that right now Hezbollah is desperate for a ceasefire. One of the things that they're not saying is that the ceasefire has to be linked to Israel pulling out of Gaza, which is what Hassan Nasrallah was saying. Now, what they're doing is saying, we just want you to stop hurting us. You know, basically this is Hezbollah's position now. We want a ceasefire, and we want a ceasefire bad. And if you'll just stop shooting, you know, stop destroying our stuff, then we'll agree to a ceasefire. Now, so they are in many ways showing that they're just desperate for that. But so is the United States. Okay, the U.S. is kind of saying that they would really like to see a ceasefire. Now, so we got three things here that make me think Israel is being very effective inside Lebanon. Number one is, just the track record of everything that they've done. And let me show you one example of that, of how well they're doing over there. So this is the before picture of Kfar Kila, Lebanon. And this is the after picture of Kfar Kila. Now, Kfar Kila, if that name rings a bell, it's been in the news in the last couple of days. I'll let that go back and forth from before to after a few times so you can see it. Kfar Kila is a village that had beneath it a gigantic underground tunnel system that was built by Hezbollah, full of missiles and rockets and about 400 tons of explosives. Now, Kfar Kila was apparently a military base for Hezbollah designed to be a jumping off point for Hezbollah, the Radwan force, to invade Israel in a October 7th style attack. And so they had all of everything from body armor, night vision, helmets, weapons, rocket launchers, explosives, vests, you name it. They had it all staged there, and that was going to be like one of their main jumping off points to cross the border. So the IDF took the area with actually not that much resistance. They didn't have a big fight to take the area. And actually, they captured a Hezbollah commander in there. And apparently he's been singing like a bird, so they're getting a lot of good information out of him. But then they just followed their policy. The IDF has a policy that if a building has a military function for its enemy, so if there's military hardware in there, if there's rocket launchers in there, if there's a tunnel entrance in there, what have you, then they are going to destroy that building. If it's a house that belongs to somebody who attacks Israel, they will destroy it. That's what they've done in the West Bank for years and in Gaza. If somebody, let's say, does a stabbing attack in Jerusalem and they capture or kill that terrorist, then they will find out where that guy lived, and they will go bulldoze that guy's house. So his family that lives there, they're now out of a home. This is meant to be a deterrent to terrorism. Not sure how well that deterrent works, but that's been their policy for a long time. Unfortunately for Kila, the entire village was essentially a military base, and so they just flattened the village. Now, there is, I can't show you the video of the explosion because it would get the video demonetized here on YouTube, but I did put a video like that up on chuckholton.com just now. So you can go over to chuckholton.com. You can watch the explosion. It is spectacular. I wish I could have been there. It is spectacular. And so pretty amazing stuff. So that is one way that you can know that Israel is winning against Hezbollah. Number two, you can know that they're winning because they are willing to negotiate now, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get a ceasefire. So Hezbollah has changed their position on that. That means you're winning. It's working, right? The only way to win a war, to truly win, is not to bring it to a draw. The way you win is to cause your enemy to get to the point where he begs for an unconditional surrender. And Hezbollah is certainly closer to an unconditional surrender today than they were just recently. And they may not actually, wait or keep fighting until that point, but they're getting there, okay? Now, the third thing is that the United States is now starting to, how do you know Israel's winning? When the United States starts telling Israel that it's time to stop. It's like if you're wrestling with your brother when you were a kid, and every time you just start to get him pinned, you almost got him pinned, your parents come in and say, all right, stop fighting now. And so your brother says, you never whipped me. You never beat me. It's like, well, every time I almost beat you, my parents come in, mom and dad come in and make us stop. That's kind of how you know that Israel's winning. So the United States has now floated a ceasefire proposal that will call off the fighting. Israel removes its troops, but they do not have to give up the ability to continue striking at Hezbollah if they see, for example, rocket launchers getting ready to launch, or if they know that there's an underground bunker system, or they know where a commander is, or something like that, the things that they've been striking so far. Now, you've always heard me say that you cannot win a war with missiles. It's just not possible. And that's true in this case as well. Israel is not going to be able to win this war just by striking from above. And they're most likely, what they're going to probably end up doing is they're going to create a buffer zone. And that's essentially what they've been doing in that video I was showing you there, the before and after. They are just wiping out anything that's a threat to them that's south of the Litani River, and a whole lot of things that are north of the Litani River. And they will probably create a buffer zone of at least a few kilometers between the Israeli border and the Litani River. So the news is saying that the Israelis have destroyed at least 1,085 structures, buildings, since they entered Lebanon, inside Lebanon. Now, that's a guess because they're not allowing enough journalists into that area to actually count the number of structures that are being destroyed. They're destroying more every hour. So it could be twice that, it could be 3 times that, but it's a lot. Suffice it to say, it's a lot. All right. Now, I wanted to see, hold on just a second. I'm gonna get that back up. No, not that one. I got too many windows open on my machine here. There we go. Patrick Wickersham has a question. What can you tell us about Iran getting Su-35s and Su-30 fighter jets from Russia? All I know is that any jets that they've got from Russia they don't stand a chance against what Israel has. And this is what we're learning more and more and more between Ukraine and Iran. Russian equipment is not looking very good. And they're getting the stuff that Iran is getting from Russia, they're getting at fire sale prices, mostly just in barter for things that Russia needs, like the Shahed 132 drones, things like that, and more missiles and things. Russia is not doing well in Ukraine, and I'm going to do a live about that. I'll do it in conjunction, or in addition to the regular live that I do, because if I do a live about Ukraine, it's not going to get any views. I mean, compared to when you're talking about Israel, more people care about Israel than care about Ukraine. And I get it, I understand. But anyway, so Russia is not doing well, and neither is Iran at this point. So all of these things are good things in that they're going to give the axis of evil pause in, for perhaps China, many of whose weapons are based on Soviet era weapons. China may be going, oh, maybe our weapons are not going to actually be as good as we thought they would be in a toe-to-toe fight against Taiwan, which has American weapons by and large, things like that. So, okay. Hopefully that answered your question. That's all I know about that in particular, Patrick. Let's see. I'm going to unpin that, and we'll look for other questions. Okay, so if you look on the YouTube channel today, you'll see a short that I made about Russia firing off or doing a nuclear tests. Okay, now they did not detonate a nuclear bomb. What they're testing is the ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles that would carry a nuke, and it's just saber rattling. That's all you need to really know about that. They fired off several missiles from submarines and ships and from land and from even aircraft. And they put out a video of them doing it that looks really ominous. And here's the thing. This was Russia shooting at Russia. Okay, they're testing these missiles. And they're doing it at the point that they always do this. Vladimir Putin starts talking about, nukes when he's got his back up against the wall. Now, let me just be very clear on this. Vladimir Putin is not going to nuke Ukraine. He's not going to nuke the West, because it has been made very clear to Vladimir Putin that if he employs a nuclear weapon, whether it's tactical or strategic, his country will go bye-bye. His regime is over. the rest of the world, once you let that genie out of the Pandora's box, to mix a few metaphors there, then it's on. And everybody knows that if you use a nuke, that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of everything. Because everybody has them now. I mean, enough of everybody has them that it's just, it would be suicide for anybody to use a nuke at this point. So when he starts talking about that, what he's trying to do is he's trying to influence the elections in the United States. He's trying to get more people to vote for Donald Trump. And, you know, that it's probably working. He's trying to threaten NATO, because remember, the war in Ukraine is not between Russia and Ukraine. It's between Russia and NATO. And Ukraine is the football in this contest. And number three, he didn't actually test a nuke. He only tested the missiles that would carry a nuke. They have tried at least 3 times since the beginning of the war in Ukraine to test an actual nuclear device in Russia, and none of them went off. They didn't work, or the people who were given the command to test the nukes refused to do so. We don't know exactly. But you have to understand, nuclear weapons are not real durable. The ones that the nukes that Russia has have been sitting in a silo someplace for generations at this point, for decades. And it takes a lot of money and a lot of people, very specialized people, a lot of equipment, a lot of time to maintain those nukes. Now, am I saying that all of Russia's nukes are no good? No. But I am saying that a vast majority of Russia's nukes are no good. That is a virtual certainty at this point. Just looking at the state of all of their other military equipment, Russia's nukes are, do they have any nukes that are viable? I would say that is a certainty they do. They have kept some of them, around in case they needed them, but they have not been maintaining all of them. And so when Russia is saber rattling by firing off nuclear capable intercontinental ballistic missiles, well, that's not as worrisome as if they actually detonated an actual nuclear bomb, even in Russia as a test, because they haven't had a test since like 1994. So yeah, you can go to my website and see more on this. I put a widescreen version of that up on chuckholton.com. Now, I want to get to a couple other quick things, and I'm going to cut this a little short because I want to give you time to go watch Donald Trump if you so desire. He's speaking in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I think, tonight at 6 p.m. Central, and it's 5:25 Central now. So I just want to point out a couple other crazy things that are happening. Irvine, California. How many of you have been to Irvine, California? I have. It's actually considering, you know how these cities will have a sister city somewhere else in the world? I've never quite understand why you do that. Why do you have a sister city? I mean, what? So, Beckley, West Virginia decides to have a sister city in Austria somewhere. Why? What do they have to do with each other? It's just a publicity stunt, I guess. Well, Irvine, California has decided that they really need to have a sister city, and they want it to be Gaza City in Gaza. Apparently this idea was floated not by the mayor of Irvine, California. It was floated by the mayor of Gaza City in Gaza. And maybe the reason is because he's just trying to get more publicity for what's happening in Gaza, for the things that are the fighting that's still going on there. Israel, every time they drop, it's amazing. You could farm the graves in Gaza, meaning All you have to do to get some graves in Gaza is drop a bomb on a big open piece of land, and within about 25 minutes, there's going to be 75 graves on that piece of land. I mean, the Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by run by Hamas, has just continued with its absolute, farcical representation of the losses that have been taken in Gaza. Every time anything blows up in Gaza, the Hamas-run health ministry claims, 15 children were killed before they even get started digging out the rubble. There's no possible way they could know how many people were killed yet, and yet they're already claiming exactly how many children died. And they, of course, none of the people who ever die were actually, militants. None of them. So if they're claiming that something like 47,000 people now have lost their lives in Gaza, and none of them were actual Hamas fighters, that tells you all you need to know. Just completely discount that number. The problem is everybody in the mainstream media is still using those numbers. The AP, MSNBC, CNN, they're all using those numbers as if they are fact, and they're nowhere close to fact. Now, I don't know exactly how many have died in Gaza, and neither does anybody else. The only numbers that we have any sort of possible, decent idea on is the numbers that the IDF keeps of the guys that they shoot who were engaged in the process of shooting at them. And that's somewhere getting close to 20,000 now. So it is a lot, but I mean, holy smokes. Okay, Anthony, what do you think about Elon Musk setting up and running the Department of Government Efficiency? Could he be effective in dramatically reducing waste? Let me tell you something. I've been reading Elon Musk's biography while I work out every day, and that guy is an animal. Elon Musk, when he puts his mind to something, he goes all in. Now, this is the wealthiest guy in the world. You'd think he's got houses. How many houses do you think Elon Musk owns? Let's take a poll in the comments over here. Put a number on it. How many houses do you think Elon Musk owns? Okay. Here we go. Hang on to your seat. 0, 1, 1, 2, 1, 25, 0, 25, 10, 13, 10. Well, actually, now I'm not finished with the book. So maybe he's from the point I'm at, which is where he's, this is about a year and a half ago. He was, working on Twitter and that sort of thing. He actually, that number of houses he owns that belong to him for him to live in are, I think now 2. One is a small townhouse in Texas near SpaceX. It's not very large at all, and it's not real fancy. It's probably something any of us could afford. And it's like a 3-bedroom townhouse kind of thing. And the other one is a $10,000 tiny home that he brought in and had set up someplace just so he'd have a place to sleep. Most of the time, he sleeps with friends when he travels around, or he sleeps on his jet. So, yeah, he owns the whole neighborhood near SpaceX, and he's been, thinking about building a home. But he used to own a bunch of homes, but he just decided that he wanted to be more hardcore than that for various reasons. And so he just got rid of all his homes. It's crazy. This guy that's got, what's he got? $300 billion now. He's going to be probably the world's first trillionaire. He's not real wedded to all that, stuff. When he takes over a company, he goes in and fires about 90% of the people in the company. That's what he did with Twitter. And goes in and with SpaceX, he had a rule that, or has a rule that every single part, down to the individual bolts has to have a person who's in charge of that part, of making it cheaper, making it better, making it, at scale, making it stronger, whatever. And he goes through those things just brutally, taking every single part. Why is this so expensive? How much does this tube cost? $700. Well, that's stupid. Go find somebody who can make it cheaper, because, I can get a tube off of one of our cars over at Tesla that does the same thing as this tube. Why does this SpaceX tube have to cost $700? So he's going through what are traditionally, especially like space travel, traditionally profanely expensive industries. And he's cutting out all the fluff, all the waste. He went into Twitter and took that same mindset. When he got to Twitter, they had ping pong tables, they had a latte bar, they had, some nice little places where people could go have some me time and have some quiet time. They let everybody work from home. And he said, nope, cancel all that. We're getting rid of all that stuff. Everybody's coming into work 40 hours a week. If you don't want to come to work 40 hours a week in person, then I will accept your resignation. And he just crushed that place. And he's bringing it back. So he's bringing it back to profitability. Now, let me just say, having been reading this book about Elon Musk and about his mindset. Now, I don't lionize the guy. I don't think he's, I don't emulate him in many ways. His personal life is a mess and mine's not. I would never trade my relationships and the life that I've built for all the money in the world, much less the little bit of money that he's got. But the guy knows how to do efficiency, and he's brutally efficient. And so any candidate who said, I will put Elon Musk in charge of the Department of Efficiency for the US government, I would vote for it. I don't care if it was Rosie O'Donnell. I don't care if it was Oprah. I would vote for anybody who put Elon Musk in charge of making the government more efficient. There are more than 18 million people in the federal government. Like 5% of the nation's population works for the federal government. Is that insane? I mean, the amount of waste, fraud, and abuse happening in the United States government is so extreme that if you were to just be able to cut 10% of that, you could fully fund the war in Ukraine and the war in Israel and every other war on the planet that you wanted to do, and the US military, and have money left over. I mean, the amount of waste is unbelievable. All right. So what's Elon's take on production in China when he's so focused on cost? Well, one of the things he did with China when they weren't going to let him put a Tesla factory in over there in China to sell cars in China unless it was owned by a Chinese company. And Elon Musk is like, no, I'm not sharing ownership. And China was like, well, no, you have to. If you're going to build a factory in China, you have to share ownership. And he's like, sorry, you're not going to do it. So we just won't build a factory over there. Well, China budged. China changed their mind on that. So he is perfectly willing to burn down a company rather than give it away, or rather than give up control of it. And I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he manages so many different companies at once, but he's definitely a hard charger. There's no question about that. Okay, so is he really serious about buying CNN? He probably could easily buy CNN at this point. CNN, everybody thinks it's like the #1 news network, but actually the number of people who watch most of their shows basically rivals the number of people who watch me when I'm reporting on CBN, on their YouTube channel. If I do a report on CBN's YouTube channel, it gets 300,000 views in a 24-hour period. That's about how many people watch, according to Nielsen, some of CNN's shows, okay? So CNN or broadcast TV in general is not doing very well. And okay, so did I hear about military helicopters doing practice pickup at the White House? I did, and it's obvious after what happened last year. The government is very much expecting violence on a scale that we may not have seen before after the elections, depending on who wins, or maybe not depending on who wins. So on that note, I wanted to show you a video that I found today that I filmed on Inauguration Day 2016, or I'm sorry, to be 2017, when Donald Trump was first inaugurated. And I want to show you this video because I want to give you a sense for what we may be looking at, not just in Washington, D.C., but across the country on the next Inauguration Day. So I want to show you this now. And before I do that, let me just answer this question. Stephanie asks, why did you say you're never doing another tour in Israel? Just because if you want to do a tour in Israel, there are 9 million people who will do a tour in Israel for you. There are so many companies doing tours in Israel that the competition is ridiculous. There's no reason for me to do another tour in Israel. I want to be the guy who does tours to places that nobody else goes. And that's why we're doing tours to Armenia. Maybe we'll do a tour to Cartagena, Colombia this year. Maybe we'll do a tour to northern Iraq or to Ukraine or someplace like that, okay? I like doing tours to places that make people go, wait, you what? Are you insane? Don't go there. Because I like to show people the reality of what's on the ground. And if it's safe enough for you to go to Armenia, when Armenia is being threatened from its neighbors, Turkey and Azerbaijan, when we take our tours to Armenia, we take you to the front line where there's an actual trench line that they've built a big berm next to the road so that snipers won't shoot at your car while you're driving along that road. From snipers from Nakhichevan, it's an Azeri exclave. So that's the kind of place I like to take people. And although we had a great time in Israel, everybody that went on the tour loved it. We did get to do things that most tours don't get to do. I just am not, I'm not really into it. I'm not feeling it, doing more tours to Israel, okay? I wanted to do it specifically on the anniversary of October 7th so that people could come and stand with Israel on October 7th and say, we are not afraid to be here with you on the 1-year anniversary of the attacks. That's why I wanted to do that. It was something special. It was a one-off, and I don't expect to do that again in Israel, okay? Are suitcase nukes real? Well, they are, but they're very, very small. The nuclear explosion would be, it's a dirty bomb. A suitcase nuke is a dirty bomb. It's not an actual nuclear fission bomb or fusion bomb. It's just a bomb that has nuclear materials in it, and it would spread that nuclear material around and make a certain area non-permissive. I mean, you wouldn't be able to go there. It'd make it radioactive for a time. So that's why a suitcase bomb going off in some place like Washington, D.C. nuclear or New York City or something like that would be a really bad thing. But it's not going to destroy the whole city or flatten half the state or something like that. It's not an actual nuclear explosion. Thank you, Captain Jenks. I appreciate that. Okay, now let me show you this video that I shot. And I'm doing this because I want to talk about my book a little bit here. We're just less than a week out from the elections. And so I'm going to be talking about this. If you're complaining about me talking about the book every night, I'm going to be talking about the book every night leading up to the election because I want you to get this information. This book has, the back half of the book is all about how to make your family safe in the event of localized or generalized unrest in the United States centered around the elections, okay? So I want to show you this video. Now, I'm going to turn the audio down on it so that I can talk over it and explain what's happening, okay? I'll just try to do that. Okay, so This is in Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day. Let's see if you can, I'll turn that down so you can just barely hear it. And there we go. Okay, these are anarchists or black bloc, Antifa, whatever you want to call them. And they are, yeah, they are not good people. Okay, they're trying to smash windows. This guy right here takes his hammer to me later on in the video. You can see them trying to just destroy things, smashing just whatever they can smash, just for no reason at all. This kid's committing a felony and probably doesn't care because he's dressed just like everybody else. And he's not even doing a very good job at committing that felony, but that's what he's doing. Now I'll fast forward a little bit here. This person, again, they're walking by a police station and a fire station, and they're spray painting on the doors. Okay, this again, committing crimes left and right. This is me telling the people, the firemen, hey, film this, guys. You want to film this. And now people start getting upset that I'm filming them in here. They're marching through the streets here, very upset, you know. Now, this guy right here, this guy, you see he's carrying a hammer. Now, I'm filming, and in a minute, he's going to try to grab my camera, and I'm going to have to fight him for my camera, okay? He sees me, I'm filming, I go past him a little bit, and he grabs my camera right here. We wrestle over the camera. I push him off, and I start saying, hey, man, I'm on your side. This is called verbal judo. I'm on your side, man, I'm on your side. Like, hey, leave me alone. And the guy's saying, stop filming, stop filming. And there's no way I'm gonna not stop filming, okay? Black bloc begins in a cell block. So they go on here and continue.
I just tried to grab my phone.
And over here, this is in front of CNN headquarters. They start smashing the windows of these vehicles. This limousine here later on gets set on fire. They burned these things later on, and this rioting and looting went on for hours, okay? Now, why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because I think this is a prelude to what we're about to see after the elections this year. Now, I want you to compare what I just showed you, which was just a small snippet. Again, this went on for hours. And they were burning things. They were setting fires in the middle of the street. I got assaulted about 4 times. They were assaulting police. And eventually, several hundred people got arrested. Those people were let out of jail within a very, very short period of time. Very short period of time. Like a matter of hours to some of them days. They were all let out of jail, and most of them were not at all prosecuted. Or if anything, they got a trespassing charge or something that's basically like a traffic ticket that they just had to pay and they were done. Very, very few of those people saw any jail time. Now compare that to what happened on January 6th on the next election. There was a very large crowd, I would say a larger crowd of protesters, a couple of 100,000 people minimum. And a couple dozen people walked into the Capitol building, which they shouldn't have done, but the doors were open for them. They were ushered in by police. There was some, rancor, without a doubt. I don't think that, from what I could tell, there was nothing that got burned. There might have been 1 or 2 windows broken. That was about it. And there, other than that, virtually no property damage. And yet those people were in jail. Some of them are still in jail for years. Grandmothers, people who were just there to protest were in jail for years. So in this coming election, in less than a week, depending on who wins, there will, without a doubt, be large protests in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere. And that's a good reason why they are most likely doing drills for how to evacuate the White House and things like that. But let me tell you something. If Trump wins, the violence will likely be much, much worse. And so you need to be prepared, because it won't stop on the day after the election. It won't stop on Inauguration Day or the day after that. It is going to go on and on and on. And I'm not kidding. You need to be prepared for how to shut down your neighborhood, block off the streets in your neighborhood so that people can't come in and try to, start fires, break windows, things like that. You need to be coordinating with your neighbors right now on how to do that. You can't think, oh, I'm just going to hole up in my apartment in downtown Los Angeles and just ride it out. Good luck with that. You're going to need to be prepared in terms of stocking up, getting everything from toilet paper to tampons to tuna fish, and everything in between, medical supplies, precious metals, the kind that go in tools, that kind of precious metals, right? You're going to want to be stocked up, and you're going to want to take stock of how secure your house is. Well, Captain Jenks, thank you for that. I live in Panama. A lot of that's going to depend, where's the best country to live? A lot of that's going to depend on what your needs and desires and abilities are financially and otherwise. A lot of people would say America is the best place to live in. And in many ways, it still is in some parts of America. Some parts of America are literally worse than Baghdad. And I'm not exaggerating there. In South Chicago, you are more likely to be the victim of violent crime than you are in Baghdad. In Baltimore, Detroit, I can go on and on and on. Basically, any large city in America, there are places that you do not want to be. If you live in or near a city of 100,000 people or more, you're very likely going to, at some point in the next 4 years, be very glad that you stocked up. Be very glad that you prepared. And so I made a bunch of checklists that will help you very quickly go through and just ascertain where you're at, what you need to do to be safe. And I put that into the book, Death of Civilization. The first part of the book just talks about why the threat is so severe. There's a lot that I haven't even discussed that's in the book. And what then the second half of the book is what you can do about it. And it's not just pie in the sky stuff like you need to have 5 years of food and you need to, move to some, survival retreat out in the woods or go live in the jungle or anything like that. It's real down to earth stuff that soccer moms and grandmothers can do to be safer in the event of a loss of civility. And I think that we will see that. So again, all you have to do to get the book, you can't get the hard copy yet because I didn't have time to put that out, but I wanted to get it out before the election. So it's up on chuckholton.com and you can download it there. In order to download it, you just have to be a supporter of the channel. $7 a month to be a supporter of the channel, and you can cancel at any time. If you just cannot swing $7 a month, I understand. A lot of people are hurting right now. Most people in America are worse off than they were 4 years ago. So I understand, I get it. And so if you cannot afford the book, I got two options for you now. Number one is today I posted on the channel a 30-minute podcast that is very, it's a podcast about the book. And it's a couple people talking about the book, and they go into very great depth and detail. And a lot of the details in there that will help you be prepared. If you want to get the actual book and you can't afford $7 a month, then just send me an email And actually, Connie will put the email address. Don't send it to Hot Zone Holton, because we're going to have Connie actually, be sending these things out now, or one of our other employees. So go to amy@holtonnews.com. Okay, amy@holtonnews.com to get the book. Thank you, VP Art. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that very much. Okay, we are coming up on the top of the hour, and the Trump should be starting to speak here pretty quick. So I wanted to let you go before that starts. So thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. I hope that you will get the book, and I hope that you will, even more importantly, put it into practice. And I would love to hear from some of you who have gotten the book already and read it, what you think about it. I'd like to get some reviews from you. So email me or post it up on Locals. Give me your review. Tell me what you think of the book, and feel free to pass it along to your church and other people that you feel might need it. Okay. Amir Tsarfati does tours to Israel all the time, so you can do tours with him. Iraq is safe for Americans to travel to. Yes, relatively safe if you go to northern Iraq. If you go from Baghdad south, it gets less safe, but you could still probably go there without a problem. There's not a lot of tourist attractions in Iraq, so I don't know why you'd want to go, but you could go to northern Iraq and it would be just fine. Okay, that's all I got for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate all of you. God bless you. We'll see you later.